Welcome back to another segment of Bolo Up. Today, we get to read The Billionaire Cinderella Contract by Michelle Smart. So, for those of you that have been following around, we left off at where Damien was going to pick up Miss Caldwell. And they were going to go on their first date. So, I'm going to go ahead and get into this. And he gave her some flowers, and she batted her eyelashes at him when they were leaving the apartment on the last episode. So I'm going to go ahead and start off on page 27, mid-page. When Damien joined her in the hallway, she slowly tilted her head and fluttered her eyelashes at him. "There you are. For a horrible moment I thought you'd flown back to Argentina." His eyes narrowed, making sure her voice was soft and verging on simpering. She put her hands on her chest and said, "I can't tell you how excited I am for our date. It feels like I've spent my entire life waiting for you, and now you're finally here." She let her voice trail off and gave another fluttering of eyelashes for good measure. His firm mouth twitched before he inclined his head. "Much better." She smiled dreamily and opened the door. "Shall we?" They stepped out into the cool evening air. When Damien put his arm around her waist, she made sure not to flinch and kept the same dreamily smile on her face all the way to the waiting car. The driver jumped out to open the back door for them. Only when they were secure in the car's confines, the driver hurrying to climb back in, did she look at Damien, and with the dreamy smile still firmly in place, say, "Don't even think about touching me in private." His dark eyes held hers before he slowly dipped his face to her ear and whispered, "I'd rather touch acid. It would have much less of a burn." When Mia got out of the car and saw the name of the restaurant Damien had brought her to for their date, she choked back a gasp. Never in a million years had she dreamed she would dine here, in a restaurant widely regarded to be one of the finest in the world. "Am I allowed to be starstruck?" she murmured. When he reached her side, "No." Then slipping his arm around her waist, he swept her inside, where the maitre d' greeted him like a long-lost messiah. Affecting nonchalance at the glorious interior, she clamped her vocal cords shut as to not squeal when the first person she spotted was an A-list Hollywood actress and her director husband. Even when Mia kept her gaze fixed on the maitre d' back as they were led to their table, she couldn't fail to notice all of the heads turning as they walked past, and a sudden flurry of impeccably dressed women smoothing their hair and dabbing their eyes to catch wayward mascara. Strangely, although the place was full, there was none of the noise she associated with busy restaurants. The background music was pitched at just the right level, and the owner must have done some tricks with the acoustics because she couldn't hear a word of any surrounding conversations, only a low-level buzz. To play it safe, she waited until they were alone before leaning forward to say in a low voice, "Can we speak freely here?" Damien, who was reading his menu, raised his gaze to hers. "Yes." "In that case, tell me what it is exactly you're forcing me into." To her, to her immense frustration, the waitress came to their table to take their order, having not eaten anything since the slice of toast she had for breakfast. After her awful meeting with Damien, food had been the last thing on her mind. Mia realized she was starving, and for the first time since she left home for drama school in almost 6 years, she didn't have to worry about the cost. She could choose anything she liked. If Damien could blackmail her, she might as well take advantage of the perks. This might be her only chance to eat in a 3 Michelin star restaurant. She quickly selected the lobster and the langoustine ravioli starter and the roasted monkfish for her main course. Considering the only seafood she'd eaten in these past 6 years had been tins of tuna, these felt like decadent choices, and she was happy to take the waitress's advice on the best wine to pair them with. "Well," she said, when their wine had been poured for them, and they had been left alone. He leaned forward and covered her hand. Unprepared for the gesture, unprepared for the sudden clatter of her heart at his touch, she only just stopped herself from tugging it away. As if sensing her internal war, he murmured, "Remember to keep your features soft and loving. People can't hear what we're saying, but have no doubt we're being watched." She forced the dreamy smile back on her face. "Better?" He flashed her another mesmerizing high-voltage smile and nodded. Then, do you guys know who Johnny Bravo is? The cartoon character, and when he smiles and then he flexes his muscles. I'm just picturing his smile as he's doing this. Okay, back to my book. He flashed her another mesmerizing high-voltage smile and nodded. "Then please get on with it before the suspense kills me." Speaking as casually as if they were discussing the weather, he said, "There are documents hidden in Celeste's villa. Important documents. And I need to find as a matter of urgency. Your job is to help me find them." "Celeste, as in your mother?" He nodded. She studied him closely. There was no way it was as simple as he'd just made out. Not with all the subterfuge and money he was spending. "What kind of documents?" "You don't need to know that." "Why not?" "It isn't irrelevant. All you need to know is that the documents are hidden somewhere in Celeste's villa." "She's hidden them?" "No. And I'm not going to tell you anything more about them. It is not relevant to your job. What is relevant is the villa is like a fortress and designed for concealing secrets. It was designed to Celeste's specifications when she married my father, and I have all the necessary blueprints and video tours of the interior for you to study. I will need you to become as familiar with the villa's layout as you are with your own home before we go there." "Why?" "The weekend we're there, the villa will be packed with staff. It takes a team of hundreds to organize the party, and this will work in my favor, as it means I can search for the documents. With bodies everywhere, it will be hard to keep track of us. But I don't like leaving things to chance. I need you to be my eyes and ears while I'm searching." Their conversation stopped as their starters were brought to the table. Giving Mia the excuse she needed to remove her hand from under his, she resisted the strong urge to shake it and rid herself of the warm impression his fingers left on her skin. After a few bites and a sip of wine, she said, "If the documents are in your mother's home, and she's not the person who's hid them, why don't you just go over to the villa and look for them instead of all this deception?" "That is not possible." "Why not? Just pop over one afternoon on your private jet. It's not hard." Something that sounded remarkably similar to laughter escaped his mouth. Similar to laughter, but cutting to be real. Oh, I'm so sorry. Similar to laughter, but too cutting to be real. What's so funny? You're missing a page. Okay. All right. You'll understand when you meet Celeste. Trust me, she's not someone you drop in on. I drop in on my mom all the time. Celeste is not like a normal mother. Our appointments are made by her staff. It took a beat for her to understand what he meant. You have to make an appointment to see your own mother? He inclined his head as if this were perfectly normal. Trying hard not to let her mouth drop open, she murmured, "This sounds like something out of a soap opera." Damien's fingers tightened around his fork, but he tilted his head in the manner of a man whispering sweet nothings to his lover. "I assure you, this is not a soap opera. This is my life, and unless I find those documents, my life as it is stands." I'm so sorry. Let me start over. I'm so sorry I ruined it. "I assure you, this is no soap opera. This is my life, and unless I find those documents, my life as it is stands. As it stands is over, and everything I spend my life working for will be taken from me." I'm sorry, it just didn't flow right for me. "How?" "That isn't relevant." "Of course it is. You're dragging me into it. How do you know the documents you're reaching for aren't actually proof of something illegal you want to cover up? Criminal acts are your specialty, not mine." Her indignation at this was immediate, and it must have shown on her face, for he covered her hand again and pressed his fingers into her skin. "Soft and loving, Mia. Do not forget we are being watched." Swallowing her feelings back, she rested her chin on the hand, not being held by his, and gazed adoringly at him. "You say criminal acts are not your specialty." Yet, the only reason I'm here is to because you've blackmailed me." Damien stilled and narrowed his eyes at this heinous slur. "I haven't blackmailed you." Anger flared from the bright blue eyes gazing at his, but her voice kept its sweet modulation. "Yes, you have." "No, my vida, I have not. You said that if I walked away with you, didn't want to ruin me through petty spite. That sounded like a threat. And if you interpreted that as a threat, then that's on you. I don't want to ruin you. That's what you said. That implies you would ruin me, but the fault would be mine for walking away." Damien found himself fighting his own swell of anger. As someone used to his word being taken as gospel, Mia's cynicism was infuriating. Her assertion that he was blackmailing her doubly so. "Again, your interpretation of my words is on you," he said tightly. "If I wanted to blackmail you, I wouldn't have bothered with the financial inducement." Her gaze continued to hold his speculatively while she chewed her food. There was something about the fire that smoldered behind the speculation that made his blood thicken and stirred his nerve endings, and he took a large drink of his wine to quell it. She gulped. Oh, I'm so sorry. She swallowed, dabbed her lips with her napkin, then bestowed him a smile that could melt an iceberg as quickly as the fire in her eyes. Then why choose an actress with a sealed criminal record? "You must have gone to a heck of a lot of trouble and expense to unearth mine. Dios." The evening was not playing out all as he'd imagined. Mia was playing ball with the role he'd given her. Instead of listening dutifully to the information he relayed, she was arguing the toss on everything. Trying hard to speak through a jaw intent on clinching at her stubborn disbelief, he forced his mouth to curve into a smile to match hers. Because, mi vida, as I explained earlier, I need an actress without scruples. There is a good chance our search for the documents will involve looking through personal, private spaces. A convinced, self-confessed drug dealer does not have scruples. He enjoyed the flash of anger this reminder of her cruelty clearly provoked. Wow. I'm going to go back to it. A convicted, self-confessed drug dealer does not